Welcome to Tell Us Why, a podcast for the financial freedom community. If you're looking to succeed in your quest for financial freedom, make sure you join us every week as we, along with our guests, discuss different stories of success, how they were achieved, and how you can do the same. And of course, we ask them to tell us why. Here are your hosts, Jack and Mike.
Welcome to the Tell Us Why podcast. I'm your host, Jack Dalrymple, here alongside my co-host, Mr. Michael Ketchen. And today we are talking with Bill Manassero. Bill is the host and top dog of the Old Dogs REI Network, a blog and weekly podcast for people 50 years and older who are using real estate investing as a means to fund their retirement years and create a legacy for their children and grandchildren. Also very valuable information for those under 50. I don't know why that's on there, but he's awesome.
Absolute rock star. I think far and away one of the best episodes we've done. Far and away the best why we've had.
He's got a great why. Yeah.
And I think it shows.
Definitely get into that.
Yes. Why goal setting is important, why mindset is really important, and how your why can be the foundation for both of those. That was really my takeaway.
Absolutely. I mean, I just love the story about his daughter. Like, his daughter was so convinced at such an early age. What was she, 9 years old? I mean, that was amazing.
And she's having the impact on the life of everyone in the family.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, I told you, I'm thinking of like my own parents, my in-laws, all the people that are a little bit later in the workforce years. This guy's done this in 6 years, 0 to 1,000 doors.
1,000 to 1,000.
It's all designed around a lifestyle and a why. So definitely can't wait to get into the episode. And I think he's going to absolutely crush. But before we do that, should we hear what this week's episode is brought to us by?
Let's do it.
Are you sick of being treated like just another number by large insurance companies? Do you want a more personalized experience with somebody that you can trust? With Keith Monteith, that's exactly what you'll get. Keith is an experienced professional who can design an insurance plan tailored to fit your specific needs. With access to over 30 insurance carriers, Keith is able to shop numerous markets to find a price that works for you. So if you want an insurance agent that you can rely on and one that has your best interests at heart, then call or text Keith today on 978-241-2363. That's 978-241-2363. Keith Monty. He'll get you covered.
Okay, so Bill's goal was to own and control 1,000 units in less than 6 years. Prior to forming the Old Dogs REI Network, Bill and his family were missionaries to orphaned, abandoned, and at-risk children living on the streets of Port-au-Prince in Haiti. Prior to Haiti, he was a professional musician, and prior to that, spent 20 years in business on the corporate and entrepreneur side. A few highlights of his career include meeting Ronald Reagan, working with actor Jimmy Stewart, being interviewed by Oprah Winfrey, and having CNN produce a documentary on his work in Haiti. That's impressive. But Bill, yes, welcome to the Tell Us Why podcast.
Hey guys, it's great to join you. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Bill. And that's just a nice of an intro. That's a pretty big resume. No big deal right there. We love it. Absolutely love it. And let me start off by telling the listeners to tell us why. This is pretty cool for me and Jack. Usually I like to rip Jack a little bit about
Mike's going to be fanboying this entire episode. Just get ready. He gives me crap all the time. This is Mike's episode.
Bill's podcast was instrumental in me and my wife's journey. As the Tell Us Why community knows, we're financially free. We've done it through passive investments. Bill's podcast, the Old Dog REI Network, was actually the second real estate podcast I uncovered right around the same time as Bigger Pockets. So, Bill, just thank you for what you do. Thank you for being such an inspiration to entrepreneurs. Thank you for everything you've done with your financial freedom and your background. And again, as Jack said, thank you for being here. So I want to jump right into it. Where are you at in your investing in your business and your goals today?
Well, I'm actually at the sort of the end, not the end of my life here, but the end of I was I had I don't know if you know the story, but anyway, it's sort of been a 7-year effort for me, and so I didn't really want to go too much beyond this. And so what I've done, I've been winding down now, and we live in Southern California. We've lived there all our lives, and we're actually, wrapping everything up in August. We're moving to Tennessee. We're getting a farm, getting the overalls,
I like that. I like that.
I'm like ready to get out there and start, get in the soil. But no, we're actually going to be, retired, but at the same time, not. We're always moving. I can't retire, but we're just going to be winding down, and we're liquidating all the properties that we own personally. We're still in syndications with others, but we basically sort of liquidated, and are just going to be living off the interest, and or the dividends, or whatever it is that our funds are in.
That's awesome.
All right, so I'm just going to ask this. It's a complete waste of time, completely irrelevant. Are you into Yellowstone?
Am I what?
The show on Paramount, Yellowstone, with
I've heard it. My wife just told me about it, and my daughter, and they said, yeah, this is like we're kind of homesteading, well there. If everything fell apart, we could survive, grow things. We got water. We get, I guess you could kind of say that,
Yeah, and I think that's where Jack was going with the Tennessee thing. And that's so cool to hear. Congratulations on that journey. I mean, what we do here, we talk about the why, right? And obviously over time, your why is going to change. And, I'll throw it back to what you just talked about. You're at the end of your goal, right? So take us back. What was the motivation? I mean, that's a big undertaking to think I'm going to go from all these different industries, like we mentioned, to we're going to have 1,000 units in 6 years. To even dream that big and have that mindset is so unbelievable and so awesome. What was that journey like? What was the motivation there?
Well, I think there was, I was in Haiti, and while I was there, as things were just, we're getting older, and it's a tough place. I love Haiti. I love the Haitian people, and I always will. It's tough as you get a little bit older to deal with that. Everybody in my family had malaria. Everybody in my wife and I both had dengue fever. I mean, we had, we've been shot at, attempted kidnappings, all kinds of stuff while we were there. And it's, that's not reflective really of the way that country is, but it was, as part of our experience. We're just, our kids are growing up. They were leaving and going back to the States, going to school or whatever. And so we were, just really, praying about what we should do, and really decided that, God wanted us to leave. And so we started planning for it. But here I am. Okay, I'm like approaching 60, and I'm going, okay, what am I going to do? Okay, I mean, we've lived on faith all our, at least the last, 12 years while we were in Haiti. We had a little kind of a IRA account, but, it wouldn't have taken care of us for very long. And so I'm kind of looking at this, and I go, what am I going to do? It's 60 years of age, walking around with a resume, I could see myself, getting the job at Walmart with the blue vest, welcoming people, I'm going, this is not my idea of a career change, And so I'm there, and I'm trying to think of things. And we had pretty big ministry over there, and we had this area where we had business incubators. We were teaching the kids in Haiti, and these were like it's right off the street, and they ended up learning like 3 different languages. They were going into school. They're learning how to run a business. So we had all these different types of businesses. We had a bakery. We had a jewelry making business. We a whole internet and sort of tech business. There are about 6 of them. And so in the internet one we were doing, I was trying to teach the kids, how you can make money with this. First we were just looking at web design and things like that. And then we said, but you can do like online stuff. So we actually, started one of these drop ship models. Now, because we can't really, get goods there and then ship them anywhere. I mean,
yeah.
It might just disappear in the shipping office, whatever you're going to ship. It's just kind of unfortunate. But so we did the drop ship model where, you buy something on Amazon, sell it on eBay. Okay, real simple. And these kids just went gangbusters, and they just started, they made more money in a month than most people make in Haiti in a year. And it was just taking off. It was crazy. So it's kind of like looking at that, and I thought, well, heck, if I got serious about it for myself, when I moved to the States, I could do that, right? Well, it was going really great, and I opened my own account and started doing my own thing. And sure enough, I got kicked off of eBay. Okay, when you get kicked off of eBay, you never can come back. I mean, there's no 3-month period, a 3-year period. No, you're gone. I just felt, oh gosh, this would not work. And I got this unexpected check in the mail, and it basically, it was I was in technology when I was working in the corporate world, and so I had a lot of stocks that were in the tech field and whatever, but the stock market was really weird at that time. So I didn't feel good taking this check that I got, not a huge check, pretty sizable. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with this? I got to diversify. So I'm looking at, when I buy gold, or they didn't have Bitcoin back then, but or maybe they did. I don't know, 6-7 years ago or something. Yeah. And so I was looking at where I could go with it. And on my board of directors for our nonprofit, there's a lot of real estate guys, and some are developers, some are investors. And one guy, a real good friend of mine, was in apartments, and he had them in Southern California. And I said, well, maybe that's something I could do. I didn't think I really wanted to do it as a full-time. I wanted to do it passively. So I really wanted to look for that passive thing. And the apartment seemed like it would be way too much, and it would cost a lot more than even if I came in as an LP, that it would be too much. It'd use up a lot of this money. So I started looking at, what else could I do? I looked at flipping. I looked at all these different things, and finally decided on rental income. So that's I did my homework. I studied where's emerging markets, and found 2 areas I thought were pretty good: Memphis and Atlanta. I hopped on a plane from Port-au-Prince, flew to Atlanta, bought a single family home there, flew to Memphis, bought a single family and a duplex there, and flew back to Port-au-Prince. And the next month, I'm getting checks, and I'm going, wow, this is cool. Not checks, but it was electronically transferred. But I was going, yeah, this is very cool. And I thought, well, why don't I do this? And it seemed pretty passive. I mean, they had a tenant in play. It was a turnkey deal, and it seemed like a good move. So that's sort of where I started. And so when we were ready to move back to the States, I just continued to buy, and it continued to grow my portfolio.
Yeah. And then how do you, to jump in there, I mean, there's a lot to unpack right there, right, Jack? It's like, hey, I'm just going to go buy these properties, no big deal. I think it goes back to the mindset, and I got to imagine the experiences you saw in Haiti kind of gave you that conviction to go take the leap. But unpacking that for a second, if you're looking at what you did with buying those, how do you arrive? Because this is something, Jack, we talk about mindset. How do you arrive at such a big number like 1,000? Like what made it 1,000? What was the logic there? What was the motivation there?
Well, it didn't initially start with 1,000. So what happened is I came back. I bought another duplex. This one is in Indianapolis. And then I realized, as I'm doing this, I'm going, this is too much I don't know. And I started having trouble with some of the turnkeys. I mean, some of the, it was a bad company that I got involved with, and I go, oh man, this is not going to work. So I started looking for mentors, and I found a mentor. And one of the first things he told me is, he said, I had already been sort of sharing. Let me take a step back. I'd already been sharing with a lot of my friends about what I was doing, because they were really interested in it. Said, hey, you're buying these rental properties. I was thinking about that. Can you tell me about it? And soon it just got much for me to be communicating with everybody. So I started a blog, and I already had this blog going about, some of my mostly sharing all the horror stories, but then
to have you on the Tell Us Why Not podcast at one point.
Exactly. And I got this mentor, and the mentor, first thing he said to me is, you got to start a podcast. And I didn't even know what a podcast was. I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, it's like, the thing that you you do, you go on, it's like being on the radio type thing. And I go, well, I got a face for radio, so that's good. But I go, I can't talk worth millions, I stutter, I say, a lot. I say, it's just, so and he said, no, do this. And he had been doing it for a while, and he just said it was the greatest. And finally talked me into, I go, okay, I'll do it once a week. Okay, that's it. I'm just going to take it real easy. And I started doing it, and all of a sudden things, I was just going, this is awesome, because I wasn't looking at it. I didn't know why I was even doing it. But for me, what was so cool about it is that I could talk to some of the best real estate investors in the country, and I could ask them anything I want. And I'm going, this is like free education. I had Robert Kiyosaki on. I'm going, okay, tell me about this, and it was just like, it was great. So I'm going, this is awesome. And then as time went on, it ended up being greater as I started to get into syndication and so forth, and attract investors and all this other stuff. But anyway, so in that process, that's where I said, okay, what are you going to do with this, Bill? Are you just going to do this until you die? I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to set a time limit. And so I came up with this ridiculous goal of 1,000 units in 6 years. And in that, I didn't really know. Well, I had a plan where I was going to double the number of properties I had every year. And then by the end of the 6th year, I'd have 1,000. So it sounded really easy, and it sounded like it would really work, but it kind of took shape along the way. I did reach my goal, but I didn't, it was by getting involved in syndication, doing other things, not owning the property just myself. And so that was, that's where I started to shift as I saw, so the power of, as you're getting into 100 plus units, you need to partner with people, and it gets harder for financing and a lot of other things if you don't do that. So that's how it evolved. I don't know if that answers your question. I really went long.
I think it answered it great. And the way we got you on the Tell Us Why podcast, ironically enough, is found Old Dog REI Network, shoot you a message, which I've probably been waiting about 6 months to do that. I'm going, all right, we got to get enough base to get to this tier of guests. Meanwhile, he's like, I had Robert Kiyosaki on, Rich Dad Poor Dad, no big deal. And man, there's so much to unpack there, Jack. Like his mindset, the goals, the way he's getting after it. I mean, that's what we're doing here.
I think when I started, I wanted one property a year for 10 years, and that was my goal. Actually, it was 11. That's why it's the 11 and 11, 24 properties. You come out working up to 1,000. I'm like, oh. Maybe my goals aren't big enough right now.
It's funny, right? And that's where we get into the why. So bringing it all the way back full circle. So you've hit this goal, you're winding down now. What I want to tell people at home listening, because you said something we haven't spent a lot of time on yet, across all of our different avenues, is the power of partnerships. To hit your goal, you had to leverage into partnerships. What actionable tip can you give the Tell Us Why community around the power of good partnerships, and maybe why, there's some potential pitfalls you have to be mindful of with partnerships as well?
Yeah. Well, for me, I wanted to be a solo guy. I really did. And because I just, I was skeptical. Yeah. And as I started doing my podcast, one of the questions I ask people is sort of what your biggest mistakes are, what's your biggest success. And a lot of people said their biggest mistake was partnering with the wrong person. And as I started to hear these kinds of things, I'm going, oh man, I even got even more, offset by that. So I wasn't really excited about partnering, but I understood that, especially with the syndication, usually there's a little team there. So it's not just one person, but you've got other people. And as I did my show, I started to make contact with people, and some of these guys were some of the top investors in the country, and we got comfortable, we hit it off, and we started talking more and continuing. And those were the people, after years, actually, as I started to do this, that I eventually partnered with, because I felt like I really knew them. I knew their projects from way back when. I could follow them. I could see that these guys were legit. They had integrity. They had all the stuff that I was looking for. So that wasn't, didn't jump into it by any means.
Mhm.
Yes, I think it's important to do. One of the things that really hit me, or a book that really hit me, was Attraction. By Gino
Yep.
Wickman, and some of the greatest partnerships were the two people that really complemented each other's talents, and that's the kind of partnership I was always looking for. I never really found it, as far as just somebody that would work with me and we'd be a part of the same company. That I didn't really find. Um, but I always was looking, and I thought, "Gee, that'd be so great," because there's some things I hate doing, and that I would love to have that guy that loves to do that and be
Yep.
able to work with that. But, I've just seen some great partnerships too as I've interviewed people. I mean, we've got over 600 podcasts, so
Yep.
um, just a lot of people we've met, and it's been just so impressive to hear these guys, and to hear some of the great things that they do. There's some young guy, like at 24, he got his roommate from college, and they just came together, and they just they're just gangbusters, and now they've got 4,200 properties, and it's crazy. Yeah. So I think it can work with the right person. um, but I guess I didn't take really enough time to find that other person. I kind of found it in the syndication, so that kind of worked.
Yeah, that's perfect. And that's something, me and Jack go back and forth on all the time, even our own investing. I'm getting ready to list a couple of properties here that when we bought 3 years ago, we bird them, we refinanced them. We're going to buy and hold forever. Well, all of a sudden someone comes and offers you, a significant amount of money more than what you think it's worth. And now we're sitting back going, okay, wow, where are we parking all this? And now we're looking at things like syndication. We're looking at other asset classes. And I feel like that journey changes over time. So definitely go back and listen to what Bill just said right there. It was, you had a goal. You didn't get there exactly in the path you thought, but by having that crystal clear vision and being in that position to track down that goal and run down that goal, you made that goal a reality, which I think is just awesome and unbelievable. And going with that. So you got, Jackie, you got something. What were you
Yeah,
gonna say?
one more thing before we go. I know we touched on it on the intro, but I would just want to go back. I mean, obviously this is a business entrepreneurship podcast, but I think obviously the why is very important, and sense of purpose, sense of mission. How did you end up in Haiti to begin with?
Well, I mean, that's a big story. It was one of the things that and I don't know if I answered your question, or if you asked me the question about what my why was first. I wanted to, but we can come back to that too. That's part of my why. Is it's really my kids and Haiti that have been the motivating factor. And for me, a why is critical, and it has to be. You have to have that in place, because when things get bad, they do, or they will. And when they do, you just keep, for me, one of them is just, I see this picture of a kid laying on the street underneath an awning, in rain, pouring rain, and a hurricane is coming. And these were the kids that we would pull off the street and would bring into our home. And that I see that vision. I also see, my daughter. I've got 7 kids. Okay, so one of my daughters just got married. I was able to help her have the wedding of her dreams. Those are those, and I want to help my kids get their first house and do other things. And I couldn't do that when I was really living, as a missionary. We just didn't have a lot of money. So to go back to the Haiti thing, it was, as I mentioned, or you mentioned earlier, I was at the corporate world for 20 years, and I've been corporate VP to entrepreneur to internet startups. I mean, I've been all over the place, and then there was a point in my life when I was feel like I was being called into the mission field. It was for kids, and I had no idea kind of what it was going to do. But I played as a rock and roll musician from the 60s up through whatever. So I played in a lot of groups and did a lot of that stuff, always either to get through school or whatever it was I was doing. And so we basically put together this this is like a kids rock band, and that presented Christian music, and we just it kind of happened organic. There's a lot of other things that happened in there, and we got on some radio stations, and all of a sudden they picked up our songs, and they were just playing like 300 different radio stations across the country, and we started getting invitations to come to festivals and to camps and all kinds of stuff. So at this time I was working for an internet startup. It was started by Meg Whitman, and it was we all thought we were all going to just do great, because we had the founder of eBay, we had all these promising things, and it was funny because the whole time I'm there, it's just kind of this thing with God. I'm talking back and forth, kind of saying, okay, just give me 1 year here, and my stock options will be worth so much. I won't have to ask anybody for money, right? And then I can do that. Otherwise, I don't see how you can make money doing that,
Yeah.
And so almost a year exactly to that promise I made, okay, internet bubble burst. And we were one of the victims, and it just crashed. All my stock options weren't worth toilet paper. I mean, they were just worthless, And so it's basically, I just kind of feel like God has a sense of humor, and he goes, okay, you want to do it your way? You had your chance. Okay, now you're going to do it my way, and you're going to step out in faith, like Indiana Jones, taking that step in that, canyon thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going, all right, man, I'm not comfortable doing this. And that's basically what we did. Is we got rid of everything we had, sold it or gave it away. We hopped on the plane with, how many of my kids did I have at that time? I think it was 3 of them. 2 were older, already married, and so 3 of them, and we and my wife, we had our life in these like Rubbermaid bins, okay. And that was it, because everything else was gone. And we flew over to Haiti, and there was a group of street kids that we already had encountered when there was this whole story I could go into, but basically we had an opportunity to go over to Haiti. My youngest daughter, named my oldest, so she's like, she's like my third daughter, third in line, and she used to travel around with us and do our music ministry, and she'd go up and do hand motions for the kids and sing with me, and she was just the cutest thing you ever saw, and still is. But she's the one that just got married. She in the midst of all of our touring and doing all the stuff that we're doing, we went to Russia and South Africa and all these different places, and she basically told me, Dad, I have this dream I want to do, and I think it's what God wants me to do. And I go, what is that? And she said, well, I want to build an orphanage, a church, a hospital, a school in Haiti. Now she's 9 years old when she told me this. And so I'm going, wow, that's great, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, she's 9 years old. Okay, next week she'll want to be president, but she never let up. And she just kept going, and like, if she had a little doll she's playing with, it was always a cute little black baby, and stuff. And she was like ready, and she'd go online, even when we were traveling around on the road, and we had this raunchy group of musicians, raunchy in the Christian sense, whatever that is. But we were traveling around this big 34-foot RV and stuff. And she'd, any chance she could get on the internet, she'd go to these orphanages, and she'd print out the pages of these kids, these little babies, and she's like memorizing their names. And she had a notebook, and she was just like ready to go over and meet all these babies in Haiti, and I'm going, oh my goodness. And she's like really into it. So we got this opportunity to do a concert, concert tour in Haiti. And we flew over there, and Haiti, it was real rough back then. It's still rough, but they didn't have like a tarmac or anything. You have to come downstairs, out on the runway and stuff. And we came down the stairs, and she gets out of the, gets to the bottom of the stairs. She gets on her knees and kisses the ground. She goes, Daddy, I'm home. And I'm going, oh man, okay, this is serious. And And we went there, and we were just totally moved. All of us were just totally moved. My wife and other kids didn't get to come, but it was just amazing. And we encountered these kids living on the streets, some as young as 3 years old, and it was just heart-wrenching. And after that 10 days there, we hopped the plane, went back, and flying home, my wife says to me, "Honey, I think we're going the wrong way." And I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I think we're supposed to be there." And I'm going, "Oh man, I'm not hearing it yet. I've been listening. I don't hear God talking to me." And she's saying, "No, I think it." I'm going, "Oh no." And then we go back, and then Ariana shares the story with all the other kids, and then they all want to come to Haiti, and it's like everybody except Dad. And and then there's a whole series of incidents that happened. That one home that we encountered there had some trouble, and these kids were basically they were, some of these really young ones were in this home, and they didn't have anybody to help them. And we went there, and in that process is when, in that visit, it was just dramatic. We found a home for these kids. We hired some people that had worked with us as translators and other things to take care of these kids, and we flew home. But I already knew that, okay, this is it. Yeah, I'm in. And yeah, and so that's basically how we ended up in Haiti. We started off with 12 boys, and then it grew into, we had a boys' home, a girls' home, we had a school, we had a vocational training program, we had there was a whole bunch of stuff, like guest house, and all these different things that while we were there was just it was beautiful. It was one of the best experiences of my life.
It's amazing.
50 episodes in, I think he takes the cake for the best why. I'm not gonna lie. That's a hard one to top. I'm not gonna lie. You're kind of crushing it, Bill, which is a hell of an answer, and we'll definitely get into that in more steps. What I was gonna say, wow, man, that's one. It's just awesome your daughter had that conviction. I mean, to have that vision and push, and two, for you to have the faith and the belief, and you along with the wife to make that a reality. And I'm sure that's still even tied into what you're doing today with the 1,000 Doors. And I'm sure the work is continuing over there. It sounds like you guys.
Yeah. We've got a great staff there that's taking things on. I hated to leave. It was a real tough thing to leave, but I'm back in with my kids. I've got grandkids here. I'm just, I'm loving it, being here. So, and everything's great there. The kids are being well taken care of, and we feel great about it. So
they're lucky to have you. They're lucky to have you and your team. And it's going to be hard to segue off of that, but I'm going to try, Jack. Bill, unbelievable why. So speaking of that and all those great resources, what is one thing we like to ask every guest? What is one book or resource you would want to share with the Tell Us Why community?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean, that my main reference was the Bible when I came over, but the one that everybody says, right, is Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was the book that reset my mindset. I mean, I had no idea that it's all about mindset. It's not really a lot about real estate. But that's what it took for me, is to get a different look at what assets were, and just this. It's just a whole different way of approaching anything, and that to me just that was the book. And I know you probably heard it already. I've heard it a ton of times on my show.
I'll jump in there though too. What I want to take away though, the reason we asked that is you are at. Yes, we've heard it mentioned, but what's cool is. Like the guy we recorded last week at episode dropping, he's just starting off his entrepreneurial journey with this awesome startup cigar members club in Montana, and he referenced Rich Dad Poor Dad. No. So you're at a different phase in the journey, and you're showing the progress, and that's really what we're trying to do here. Is you've got a guy in one industry, you've got Bill over here in this industry, you've got all the guests we've talked to in this community we've built, and the themes continue to be the same, and that's really cool. So that is definitely a great answer, and thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
So with that said, Jack, you ready to hit him with the questions?
Let's do it.
It's now time for the Big Three segment, brought to you by QS Private Lending. Are you looking to finance your next deal quickly and reliably with less hassle and paperwork? QS Private Lending is one of the oldest and largest hard money lenders to real estate investors in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Our quick and simple short-term loans require no appraisals and have enabled hundreds of builders and investors to profitably acquire and renovate thousands of residential and commercial properties. To experience the QS difference for yourself, call or text Luke Conroy today at 315-323-0250. That's 315-323-0250. QS Private Lending.
All right, it is now time for the big three. These are the three questions we ask every guest every week. So in your opinion, excluding doctors, lawyers, that type of thing, is college worth it?
Okay, it's a real general question. Some people, I think it's a total waste of time.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's certain professions where you have no choice. You really need to go. But personally, I mean, I was trying to think. It was funny when I went to school, because I changed. I got like an associate arts in psychology. I ended up graduating with a BA in geography. I mean, it's like, I think, okay, what am I going to do with this? Be a land surveyor. I don't know. It didn't do a lot for me, but it helps to get jobs, and I think having that degree helped. I think it changes a lot. I have a son that's working on being a computer programmer, and he really doesn't even have to go to college if he doesn't want to. It's really the skill, and I think that there are a lot of great jobs you can do. Heck, I know plumbers that make more than lawyers that I know. So I just, I don't think it's necessary, but it just depends what you want to do. If you want to go in the business world, yeah, you got to do it. Real estate, no, you don't have to do it. I think the business part is important. I think you really do need to understand, the financials and that aspect, and P&Ls, and be able to, understand that whole part of it. I don't know that you have to go to college to learn that either.
And that right there is a great answer. That's why we ask the question, is we want people to get a takeaway that be logical. Don't rush into it. Don't follow the traditional path that's necessarily forced for that much debt, because there are pros and cons, which is a perfect segue into question number 2. What is one piece of actionable advice you go back and give to your 18-year-old self?
Buy real estate. I mean, no, seriously, if I would have bought real estate when I was 18, I mean, I don't care what it is. I mean, house hack, wholesale, get a piece of property and get income. And you can, even if it's like one of these, and I've bought those properties too, there's like, it's a $50,000, piece of real estate. It doesn't matter as long as it generates income. You don't want to get into something that's going to be a headache either, but find something, and you can always trade out of it, or you can sell it, or whatever. Get your feet wet so that you can build. And man, if I would have started at 18, that would have been awesome.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right, so we'll wrap it up with the 90-year-old question. What is one thing you would want your 90-year-old self to say to you?
90-year-old self, I fought the good fight. I've finished the race. I've kept the faith. That's it.
Wow.
I like it.
Nailed it.
Like
That's
it.
a professional podcast host right there. Look at that. That is good. You're gonna have to start getting you on the Tell Us Why. You're gonna take the show and just run with it, Bill.
Yeah.
Listen, seriously, thank you so much. Where can people get in touch with you though? And I again, personal advocate for your blog, your content, but tell the people, and we're gonna promote the hell out of it too, because it's really good. Where can they get a hold of you, Bill?
Yeah, it's just the Old Dogs REI Network, and Dawg spelled DAWGS .com. I mean, that's you'll be able to reach me, and I hopefully will be able to get back to you. Yeah, it's that's where I hang out.
Okay, so before we let you go, is there anything you'd like to tell our listeners?
I think I still believe, okay, I had a different task than a lot of other people. I had 6 years. Okay, make it or break it, and I'm done. I did it in 6 years, and I think the thing is you got to understand it's a lot of hard work. Okay, I came off the mission field. I rolled up my sleeves. I said, I got to get serious on this. I was working 12, 14-hour days during that time period. So it is not easy, and those that are thinking this is an easy way to make quick money, it really isn't. I mean, you got to work your butt off. You do. I mean, the dividends are amazing. So just don't give up. Don't give up. Just keep plowing through and have a strong why. Like you guys are talking about. I love the title of your show is, that you got to have that why, because that's going to keep you going. And I wanted to give up so many times, but why it would really just let me.
And that's why it's such a great one. So again, thank you for being here. Jack, where can the listeners learn more about Tell Us Why?
Well, definitely check out our website, telluswhypodcast.com. If you don't follow us on social media, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're going to pass over that. All the links are in the description below. If you're new and just listening for the first time, make sure to head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Don't bring it up, Mike.
Yep. And then we're finally on TikTok because I had to do it. And yes, go check us out on wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, you name it, we're there. Jack, quote of the week.
If you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way. Napoleon Hill. And that's it for today. Be sure to join us for next week's episode. And until next week,
bet on yourself.